This class is in memory of Jared Orchen, and today we will study the Haftorah of Chayei Sarah. The Haftorah can be found on page 1382. Speaks about the last days of King David. King David passed away on Shavuos, right? And it was not a lot before that. When exactly it was, I don't know. Maybe it's written somewhere, but I don't know. The story is here about Adoniyahu. Adoniyahu was a son of David. Remember last time we learned about Absalom trying to rebel against David and to become a king. Absalom lost his revolution, he was killed, it was over. Here is Adoniyahu, another son number 4 of King David. And he, on the last few days before King David is very old and sick. And everybody thinks that nobody knows what's going on. And I can do whatever I want. He tried to appoint himself as a king while his father is alive. Then this story unfolds on what happened, how they dealt with this situation when Adoniyahu announced that he's a king. Now, there is a few names here that will be important to know who they are. First one, the most important person in this whole picture, beside Adoniyahu, is Nathan. Nathan the prophet. Nathan the prophet has two big stories in the Bible with King David. Number one, with the story with Bathsheba. That's important to know the story with Bathsheba. King David saw a beautiful girl, and she had a husband with the name Uriah. You know who was Bathsheba? Bathsheba was the granddaughter of Achitophel.
Oh, his best buddy.
Achitophel was the best buddy of David in the beginning. That's why Achitophel, that's one of the explanations, Achitophel joined Absalom's revolution because he was angry with the story of Bathsheba. In any case, he took Bathsheba to his house. Her husband was at war, and he had relations with her. Then she got pregnant. Then the husband came home, and eventually he sent them to war with a note to Joab. Joab was the head of the army, to put them on the front line that they will be killed. And that's what happened. Now, what happens if he is killed? The soldiers of King David, in the army of King David, before they went to the army, they wrote a get. That if they don't come back, the get is retroactively valid. That means the moment he was killed, Bathsheba was from before was not already a married woman. She was a divorced woman. That King David did the same. Why King David did it? Because he knew in prophecy that from Bathsheba supposed to come out the king, the next king. And as the Zohar says, King David was right, but he tried to push the future. He tried to make things happen. We see in the Bible, when anybody tries to make things happen, gets in trouble. Who also tried to make things happen?
It's not Yaakov, Joseph.
First of all, Sarah.
Joseph.
Sarah knew that Abraham's supposed to have a child. She's trying to help God. Maybe marry Hagar. 1 minute, so as we have from this until today. Don't help God. Jacob wants blessings. He's trying to, Rebecca is trying. Don't help God. Whatever belongs to you will come to you. Whatever is not yours, no matter how much you try, you lose it. The same thing with there is many stories in the Bible like this. Then King David was excited. He wanted to say he's already 52, and he's supposed to have 58, 57, 58. He's supposed to have a child from will be the next king, and when if not now? Then, when later she was pregnant, the child that was born died. And Bathsheba did not want to have with him another child. Oh, first of all, here came Nathan the prophet. Nathan the prophet walked into King David and he started to give him an example, a parable. The parable was about a man who has one sheep and his neighbor has 1,000 sheep. And one day the man who has many cattle, he had made a party. Instead of slaughtering one of his cows, he took the sheep from the guy who had only one. King David jumped and said, "This guy deserves that." Nathan looked at him and told him, "You're the man." Why Nathan did it in such a way? Because Nathan, even God, doesn't want to judge a Jew, judge a person. God brings you the situation to your end and lets you to judge yourself. But he brings you an example from somebody else, and we jump and judge, and then we have to bite it. Then that was Nathan. Nathan was the one to reprimand them, and King David right away said, "I'm sorry," and he started to do tshuva, and it was a whole. King David taught us what means to do tshuva. You know what tshuva means? Tshuva means that you never forget about your sin. Chatati negdi tamid, my sin is in front of my eyes forever. What does this mean? Not as a way of depression, but just the opposite. The closer you get to God, you say, "I can't believe I did it." Like, only when you have children, you tell yourself, "I can't believe I did it to my parents." And your parents used to tell you, "I wish your children should do the same thing what you do." You'll enjoy it. And only then you say, "I can't believe that's what I put him through. My son is running away and I don't know where he is all night, and I used to do it to my parents every night." That the same thing with God. The closer you get to God, the more you say to yourself, "I can't believe I did it. I can't believe I did such a thing to God." That you always do tshuva again and again and again. Then was the first story of Nathan. Of Nathan with the main famous story with Nathan with King David. The other story is, one day David wanted to build a temple. He comes and he asks Nathan the prophet. Nathan told him, "Go for it, good idea." So then Hashem revealed himself to the prophet Nathan, and he told him, David is not building a temple. Why?
Blood on his hands.
He has blood on his hands. So, blood and holiness doesn't go together. You have to go to war? Yeah, you have to go to war. It doesn't go together with a holy temple. In Judaism, war is not a mitzvah. It's a necessity. You understand? It's a mitzvah. There is a war that you go for the mitzvah, but it's not something that you don't become sanctified by that. For example, a Kohen who killed a person cannot bless the congregation. There is this and there is this. Then Nathan had to come back to King David and tell him the news. You will not build a temple. Your son Solomon is going to build a temple. Before that already, King David promised Bathsheba that that his son, the son will come from here, he will build a temple. He will be the king himself. That Nathan is the main person here who gives the whole story. Adoniah on one end wants to become a king and does not have patience. Nathan is the one who is saving the situation. Then let's start to read from the beginning, and we'll go little by little.
King David was old. The signs of old age were not premature, but come in the right time. They covered him with clothes, but he did not become warm.
The Talmud says an amazing, it was cold. No matter how many clothes you put on him, how many covers, he couldn't warm up. Talmud says something very interesting. Why it happened to him? Because when he met King Saul, and he wanted, it's unbelievable how the chain of things happen. It's a story of King Saul and Samuel, right? Samuel came to King Saul, Samuel the prophet appointed King Saul. And when he appointed him, one of the job he told them, I want you to go and kill the Amalekites. We will learn the Haftorah when the time comes. So another Haftorah. Fine. King Saul did not fulfill God's request completely. He left Agag alive, and he left the kettles, and what the God told to destroy everything. And then it came in front of all the people. It was a whole show off, and King Samuel walked away from him. That King Saul asked him, stay with me a little bit. I shouldn't be embarrassed in front of my people. That he pulled a piece of his garment, he asked him to stay with him, and he tore a piece of Samuel's garment. And Samuel turned to him and told him, this piece of garment, as you turn from my garment a piece, God tore off the kingdom from your hand. And he will give it to somebody who is better than you. Who he didn't tell him. There will be somebody who will tear off your garment. Not long passed, and King Saul was running after David to kill him, and it was stories after stories. One time twice, King David had an opportunity to kill Saul, but he didn't do it. His people were so angry, they wanted to kill Saul. He was in a cave together with King Saul, and they could just kill him. King Saul walked in because he was a place he looked for a place to relieve himself, and he went into a cave, out of modesty. In this cave was hiding David and his people. It was a matter in a second he could kill him. Instead, he tore off his cloth, a piece of clothing. He didn't even realize that he tore off his cloth. Then King Saul walks out. David walks out after him and says, King, that's what I had from you. I could kill you. And when Saul saw that he has the piece of God, he knew. Because he was not respecting clothing, the Talmud says, the clothing didn't help him, King David, by the end of his life. That no matter that he did a good thing, that he didn't kill Saul, all's good and fine. But still, the cycle is unbelievable when you look in the Bible, everywhere. Okay, that King David was called. Okay.
His servant said to him, let a virgin girl be sought for my master the king. Let her stand ready before the king and provide warmth for him. She will lie in your bosom, so that my master, the king, will be warm.
Okay, continue.
They looked for a beautiful girl throughout the entire territory of Israel. They found Abishai, the Shunammite, and brought her before the king.
Where we know about another Shunammite woman?
With Elisha.
According to the Talmud, it was her sister. The other woman, the Shunammite sister, woman. Okay.
And brought her before the king. The girl was extremely beautiful. She acted as a warmer for the king and served him, but the king did not know her in an intimate way.
He didn't marry her. According to some commentaries, that was, you know what tshuva means? What is the ultimate?
Repentance.
Yeah, but the ultimate level of repentance,
Is that you don't repeat the thing.
the ultimate level of repentance is that you are in the same situation and you don't do the same thing. Where we see it? We see it in the story of Joseph. Why Joseph drove his brothers crazy and he told them that they should, your thieves, your spies, and then bring your brother, and then he brought Benjamin, and he told them, I want to keep Ephraim Benjamin, that he was a thief, and he told, I'll keep Benjamin as a slave and you can go home. He had to create the same scenario. Benjamin is the same as a brother from Joseph from the same mother, Rachel. And here is the brother. They sold Joseph. Now let's see what they'll do with Benjamin. They're really repenting. And the same Judah who said, let's sell Joseph, the same Judah stood up in front of the ruler of Egypt and said, I will be a slave and let him go home. Then that Joseph had to create the same exact scenario, because if not, I'm sorry. How I know that you're really sorry? Not only how I know, how I myself know that I will never do it again if I was never in the same situation. The same thing is here. According to some commentators, David wanted to do tshuva for the story of Bathsheba. That he bought a woman and he didn't marry her and he controlled himself completely. That was a way of repenting. That's some commentaries say. Okay. Now comes the star of the show.
Meanwhile,
Adoniah,
Adoniah, son of David and Chagias, was acting haughtily like a king, as if he were actually saying, I will reign. He prepared.
why he wanted to be a king, Adoniah? What got him so excited? Some people say, some commentaries I saw today say, that Adoniah wanted to marry Avishag. She was very beautiful. He wanted to marry her. And the Jewish law is that a wife of a king, only a king can marry. How we know that Adoniah wanted to marry Avishag? You'll see later. We'll get to it in the end.
But
But
Abishag
she
didn't
wasn't his
marry the
wife.
king.
I know, but he didn't know exactly. He says, if I'm a king, I have a chance to get her. If I'm not a king,
No chance.
But she wasn't his wife.
not the king's wife.
Right.
But then, I don't think everybody knew it. She was bottom line in the king's bedroom.
I see.
That for me is, if anybody can have a chance to have her, that's only him. That's only a king, not a regular person.
It's kind of shades of Reuben then. What, Reuben is sleeping with Bilhah, right?
But the Talmud says he didn't.
Do
But it could be.
physical relations make a marriage?
In Jewish law, but it's more than just, it's something. Yeah, by Jewish law, by the way, by original Jewish law, you can marry a woman in 3 ways. With money, with a document, and by physical relations.
Because that seems to be the implication of what you're saying, because
He did not marry
it wasn't
her.
like if there had been some public ceremony, of course.
No, it was no
Adoniah
public
would
ceremony.
know.
You're right, but he didn't know what happened there. Yeah, exactly. He didn't know that the king did not know her and what's going on in the bedroom. Okay, that Adoniah decided to become a king. Go ahead.
He prepared a chariot and horsemen for himself, and 50 men running before him. Since his father had never reprimanded him, saying, Why have you done
His
this?
father never reprimanded him, never. It means to say, King David was too nice to his son Adoniah. His father never told him, go to shul, it's time to daven. He never disciplined them. That he was doing whatever he wants. I remember the Rebbe used this line. People say the world has an assumption that crime comes from poor families. The truth is, crime comes from the rich families. Who tried to assassinate Reagan, President Reagan? John Kinley? Hinckley, thank you. John Hinckley, that when he tried to assassinate, the Rebbe spoke about it. The Rebbe said, look, it's a child from a rich home, from a good, but he was never reprimanded, he was never disciplined. The problem is not rich or poor, if there is a good education, if there is order in the house or not. The Rebbe used this line, his father never told him anything what to do. He was a prince. And what happened here? His father David never told them why you have to do it this way. Go ahead. Who is reading it? Whatever. Number 6.
He presumed that.
Okay.
Number
Since-
6.
Since his father had never reprimanded him, saying, Why have you done this? He presumed that he had his father's approval.
Exactly. Says, my father says nothing. Obviously, he's okay with it.
He also thought that he was fit to be king because he was very good looking, and he was born right after Avshalom.
Right after Avshalom, and
Who
was a
had
very
died.
good. And Avshalom was a very good-looking guy too. That he felt, who if not him?
Who died leaving Adoniah,
And he
the eldest.
was much older than Solomon. He is to be much older than Solomon. Yes. I'm sorry, you said a few words there.
He died, Avshalom, who died leaving Adoniah, the eldest.
He was the oldest at this point. Avshalom died. Who was also killed? Avshalom was killed. What are the sons of King David all killed? Amnon, Avshalom kicked
Yeah.
him, no?
He's the one who slept with the sister.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the sister was in trouble,
Mm.
and eventually Adoniah was killed. David lost 4 sons, 4 kids. It's because of the story of Bathsheba, I think. It's Hashem told him there'll be a punishment, something like this.
He lost technically 5 because he lost the first child with Bathsheba too.
Yeah, but I'm talking about big,
Yeah,
older
yeah.
children. Okay,
He consulted with Joab ben Zeruiah and
Evyatar.
Eviatar,
The
the
Kohen.
priest. They supported Adoniah.
They supported Adoniah. Here you go, something unbelievable. Joab, we learned about them last week. The head of the army, who was always loyal to King David during thick and thin. I mean, he was there when King David was fighting Saul. He was there and therefore he killed Avner ben Ner, who was on the side of Saul, right? He was there when Absalom tried to make a revolution against him. He was there when Sheva ben Bichi. It's another story. Somebody tried to make a revolution against King David. Came to 5 minutes before King David died. He went with Adoniah. Why he went with Adoniah?
Because they knew that they were disliked by David. But Zadok the priest, Benaiah, son of Jehoiada, Nathan the prophet, Shimi, Rei, and David's strong men, Eleazar, Adina, and Shammah, were not with Adoniah.
Okay, let's
for
stop
they
right here.
remained loyal to David.
Okay, first of all, who is Evyatar HaKohen? Evyatar the Kohen was a son of Achimelech. You know who Achimelech is? The Kohen, the high priest? Who is Achimelech? There is a sad story, a very sad story, with King Saul. When King Saul, when King Saul was running after David, at one point David came to the city of Nov. The city of Nov was the place that the temple was there before they went to Jerusalem. And Achimelech was the high priest. And Achimelech saw the son-in-law from the king coming with a whole group of people. He helped him. He gave him food. He gave him the sword of Goliath. The sword of Goliath was in the temple. He gave it to him. Not only this, he asked for him on the breastplate. The high priest can ask on the breastplate. He asked Hashem, what should he do? And he was answered. There was a guy there, Doeg the Edomite. He saw it. He ran to Saul and he reported Achimelech that he told Achimelech is rebelling against you. He's helping your enemies. Achimelech was called to Saul. Saul asked him why he did it. He said, I didn't know that he's against you. I helped him because he's your son-in-law. That's what I know. Saul didn't believe him. Saul ordered to kill the whole family. 85 people were killed. The whole family of Achimelech was killed. Beside one child, Evyatar. Evyatar survived, the Kohen, the high priest. And he was the high priest in the time of King David. He, together with Zadok. Evyatar was again loyal to King David throughout his Torah, throughout his fight. We remember last week we learned about Avshalom's revolution. The high priest wanted to take the Ark of the Covenant and take it together from out of Jerusalem, and King David left. And King David told them, leave it here, whatever will happen, will happen. If I come back, I come back. If not, not. But I'm not touching the Ark of the Covenant. Who was the king? Who was the high priest who wanted to do it? Evyatar. And here Evyatar joined Adoniah. In the last minute, they messed up. Then Joab and Adoniah, both of them were very loyal to David until the end. That's why we learned last week, he told them, you should know what to do to Joab. Because Joab, he told Solomon, because Joab went with Adoniah. Another explanation is, the Medrash says, the Talmud says, then King David sent Joab a note. He should put Uriah on the front line. Uriah was one of the glorified generals. Then when he was killed, all his friends wanted to kill Joab for doing it. Why you put him there in the front line? You knew he was going to be killed. He was afraid to be killed. That he took out the paper, the note that King David sent. It's something that nobody had to know. And he embarrassed King David. And that was the other thing that King David held it against him. But here, on a simple level, he joined Adoniah. He rebelled against the king.
He the one who killed the other son too, Absalom?
He killed all those Shalom. Yeah, he had enough.
David wasn't too happy with him.
No, he wasn't too happy with him. No question about that. Then Adoniah called Joab, the head of the army, the strongest person in Israel. He's the one who says yea or nay. It's like the Assisi in Egypt. He was the one. And the high priest. And he's becoming a king. He has 50 people run off before him. He's collecting people. And that's Freilach.
Freilach?
Huh?
What's Freilach?
And it's
Agedilla.
it's happening. It's a happening place. It's a party.
Oh, okay.
That's what Freilach means. and number 8. Go ahead.
But Tzadok the priest, Benayahu son of
Yehoiada,
Nasan the prophet, Shimi, Chayei, and David's strong men, Eleazar, Adino, and Shema, were not with
Adoniah,
for they remained loyal to David.
Yeah, some people didn't go with Adoniah. Zadok the high priest was the other high priest, and Nathan the prophet, and the generals of David who were very loyal to David, Benayahu and others, they stayed with they didn't go with Adoniah. They knew it's the wrong thing to
There
do.
was more than one high priest?
Well, there were 2 big machas. Exactly who was. Remember, there was no temple.
Oh.
It was like kind of high priest. Whatever exactly they did, I'm not sure. But it was not. The temple was built by Solomon. It was at that point the Ark of the Covenant. Maybe that maybe a makeshift temple. But they were the 2 big families, the 2 leaders of the Kohanes. Who exactly was the high priest? I'm not sure.
We know afterwards, though, that the house of Sadok, according to Ezekiel, then becomes the high priesthood.
Because of this story. There is another Haftorah that one day we will learn that starts. Where exactly it starts? והכהנים הלוויים בני צדוק, and by Ezekiel said, and the Kohanes and the Levites, the son of Tzadok. Tzadok, his family continued the tradition of the Kohanes. What came from his family? Aviatar was out because he wasn't loyal to the king. Okay, what happened? Number 9. Continue.
Adoniyahu offered sheep, cattle, and fat oxen at the Zoheles stone near the fountain, Ein Rogel, and he invited those that supported him from among all his brothers, the king's sons, and all the people of Yehuda, the king's servants.
All the people of Judah, the tribe of Judah, all the servants, everybody is with Adoniah. Yeah, with David were left a few good guys, Nathan the prophet, a few this, but the crowd, the in thing to do is to join Adoniah. Okay.
But he did not invite Natan the prophet, Benayahu, and the strong men, nor his brother Shlomo.
You sure he didn't invite Solomon? He knew he was. He knew exactly what he's doing. Okay, number 11. Go ahead.
Nathan spoke to Bathsheba, Shlomo's mother, saying, "Haven't you heard that Adoniyahu, the son of Shagas, has plans to become king? Our master David doesn't know about it."
Nathan came to Bathsheba and he told her, you know what's going on here? Adoniah becomes the king. David is very sick, laying in bed, isolated, has no clue what's going on. And it might be too late. Continue.
Now please let me advise you so that you will save your life and that of your son Shlomo, for Adoniyahu will surely kill you both if he becomes king.
He told her, here is no, oh, you will be the king, we will just be his friend. It doesn't work like this. If he becomes the king and he knows that Solomon is supposed to be the king, he will kill Solomon Bathsheba. Will be no end. He told her, if I'm giving you advice how to save your life, not just to become king, save your life. What's the advice?
You know, I was just thinking about all this stuff that's going on. People, killing, someone comes in power. It's like it's been going on forever.
Seen Game of Thrones?
Gee, we're not like that today.
It's just like, it's like a Greek tragedy. But it is not Greek.
Like ISIS.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go and enter before King David and say to him, my master the king, didn't you swear to your maidservant saying, Shlomo your son will reign after me, and he will sit on my throne, so why has
Adoniyahu.
become king?
Oh, here he tells her, look, go into his bedroom, and because you're his wife, you can do it. Just basically open the door without anybody's permission. Go in, because he was isolated. Even his women were not around. He was very sick. All of his advisors, nobody was around him. He was like completely by himself with Avishag. So you walk in and tell him, didn't you promise to me that my son Solomon is going to be the king after you? Because Bathsheba did not want to have, after the first child died, Bathsheba did not want to have with him another child. She said, people will say, he's a bastard, I was married before. King David told her, I promise you that this child will be the next king after me. He swore to her. You go and collect the oath.
Okay.
Remind them about it. Okay.
Then while you are still talking there with the king, I will enter after you and confirm your words.
I'll come in and I'll say, yeah, king, you know what's going on. Okay.
Bathsheba came to the king into his bedroom. The king was very old, and Ashbid the Shunammite was serving the king. Bathsheba bowed down and prostrated herself before the king. What do you want? The king said.
He said, she walked in, Avishag was there, and she comes and she says, he said, this is Bathsheba. He said, if she came, he knows she's coming for something. He said, what do you want? What's going on? What's the problem? Go ahead.
She said to him, my master, you swore to your maidservant in the name of God Almighty that Shlomo, your son, will reign after me, and he will sit on my throne. But now look, Adoniyahu has become king, and you, my master the king, did not know. Proof of the matter is that he made a feast where he sacrificed many cattle, fattened oxen and sheep. He invited all the king's sons, Ebyasar the priest, Yaov the army general, but he did not invite the heir Shlomo, your servant.
If he would think it's just a fair thing to do, just he makes the party and it's the right thing to do, why didn't he invite Solomon? Obviously he knows what he's doing. He wants to become a king. That Bathsheba is bringing the news to King David and facing him with the news. King David did not want to appoint Solomon. Solomon was 12 years old. King David was kind of letting God taking care of business. She came and she told him, if you don't do something, it'll be too late. Because as long as you're alive, you can make decisions. Then when people say, oh, David was there, Adoniah was the king, he didn't say anything, obviously he agreed with that, finished. Okay.
Don't think it was the people that chose Adoniyahu, for the eyes of all Israel upon you, my master the king, to tell them who should sit on the throne of my master after him.
Okay, she told him, you my master, the whole nation looks up to you. They want to know who King David will chose for our next king. What Adoniah says, what this guy says, doesn't mean anything. And don't be afraid to say it because you think, the people will. You see, if the people wanted Adoniah, you cannot fight the people. That she told them, it's not that the people chose King Adoniah, they think it's you. If you will say somebody else, there'll be somebody else. The whole, Einei kol Yisrael elecha. The highest of all Israel are to you. What is going to be? Can you continue?
However, if you do not do so when my master the king passes on and lies with his fathers, I and my son Shlomo will be deprived of our lives.
Ani ubi Shlomo chatoim. We'll be missing, we'll be gone. By the way, that for me is a lesson that the word chet doesn't mean a sin, it means missing. You understand? The word in Hebrew is chatoim. We will learn that when it's written about a sin, it doesn't mean a person has to do a sin, something wrong. It's written, for example, we mentioned it a few times, that there is no tzaddik on earth, no righteous man, he will do good and he will not That literally the translation, he will not sin. But the real translation is, and he will not miss something. The most righteous man could do better, could do something more. But it doesn't mean that he actually sinned. You understand what I'm saying? The same thing is here. How we know? We know that in Hebrew, the word chatoim doesn't mean could be sins. It could mean we will be gone, we will be missed.
An archer's term meaning to miss the mark.
What?
In archery.
Archery. What's archery?
You're shooting arrows.
Shooting arrows.
Yeah,
Bow and arrow.
missing the mark.
If you miss the target, it's a hack, right?
Ichti, yeah, very good. Ichti tamatara, yes. Missing the mark comes the word lachti. Yes, beautiful. That's a perfect example. Then you miss the mark. You didn't do something wrong, but you missed the mark. Exactly. The same thing is a sin. In the same thing, King David said, "My sin is in front of my eyes forever." I don't know about the sin, the bad side. He missed the mark. Exactly. He didn't do what he's supposed to do. It's all nice and fine. You were in the right place, you didn't know what you're supposed to do. Have a nice day.
Then while he was still talking to the king, Nasa, the prophet, arrived in the king's quarter. They announced-
While Bathsheba is talking to the king, Nathan walks in. Yeah.
They announced to the king, saying, Nasa the prophet is here. He entered the king's presence, and he prostrated himself on the ground on his face. Nasa said, My master the king, did you say Adoniyahu should reign after me and will sit on my throne?
Nathan the prophet walked in like he doesn't know from anything. King, did you say that Adoniyahu should become the king? That's after he just heard from Bathsheba the story. Continue.
What is this, number 24, what's, they announced to the king, so there was people in the king's chambers, they announced to the king that Nathan's coming in, right?
They announced, yeah.
Who's they?
The servant.
The servant, okay.
The servant walked in and said, Nathan is coming in, and Nathan walked in. Before the king, nobody walks in like this. He announced that they're coming. Only Bathsheba just walked in.
You're just not used to being treated like that.
Number 24, yeah. Nathan said,
25. You got
25, yeah.
25, right?
Yeah, 25,
Because
I'm sorry.
Because today he went down and sacrificed many cattle, fattened oxen and sheep, and he invited all the king's sons, the army generals, and Abiathar, the priest, who to what could only be a coronation feast. They are eating and drinking in his presence, and they will surely have said, Long live King Adoniyahu.
Adoniyahu. He said they all called there, and he says, what do you think they are saying there? That's a coronation feast. Yeah. They say, Yechi HaMelech means long live the King Adoniyahu. That's what they are saying there. And then he adds something else. Go ahead.
And he did not invite me, Tzadok the priest, Benayahu son of
Yehoyada,
nor Shlomo your servant.
He says, and me didn't invite. Nathan knew exactly who's supposed to be the king. That's why he didn't invite them. And he didn't invite the Tzadok the priest, and Benayahu ben Yehoda, and Solomon he didn't invite. Okay, continue.
I wonder why you have not previously.
If this matter,
27.
If
this matter has come for my master the king, I wonder why you have not previously informed your servant, who should sit in the throne of my master the king after him.
He tells them, if you appointed them, Ime'et Adoni HaMelech, if it came from the king, why have you not told your servant? Nathan, you should tell Nathan, that's my plans. I changed my agenda. You're going to appoint Adoniyahu. Why didn't you say anything? Okay.
King David replied and said, Call Bathsheba to me. She came before the king and stood before the king.
did she leave it?
Obviously she left. She left and walked out a little bit. Yeah.
The king took an oath, saying, By the life of God, who has delivered my soul from all suffering, just as I swore to you in the name of the Almighty God of Israel, saying, Shlomo, your son will reign after me, and he will sit on my throne. so too I will swear today that Shlomo will become king immediately during my lifetime.
Okay, what is he saying here? He told Bathsheba, I swear to you now that that oath that I took years ago, not so many years ago, 12 years ago, 13 years ago, before she got pregnant, that Solomon, your son, will be the one who will sit after me, will reign after me. I will appoint him while I'm alive. At the first time, I mean, it was not too many kings, but usually the new king doesn't come until the old king dies. Here it was, they announced, long live the King Solomon, and together with it, long live the King David. And it was not a contradiction, it was one thing. It was a continuation. Solomon was an extension of David.
Is that the reason why Mashiach has to come from Solomon as well?
I mean, from where it should come, that's King David.
Well, we know Mashiach has to come from David, but there
David
also
is
has-
Shlomo, yeah.
I mean, theoretically, it can come from one of David's other sons too.
But it has to be from the house of from the king. It has to come from Solomon. You're right. Why? Because Solomon was meant to be. Solomon was the completion of David. Solomon and David is almost like Moses and Joshua. Moses and Joshua, their leadership is considered one thing, one unit. Moses took the Jews out of Egypt. Joshua brought them to the land of Israel. Joshua was not almost a king. Joshua finished the job of Moses. Solomon, David conquered Jerusalem, conquered the wall, prepared everything for the temple. Who built the temple? Solomon. But Solomon was the continuation of David. Without Solomon, David's job is not complete. But you're right, it's like one person. It's like David, it's written that Moses, the face of Moses like the sun, the face of Joshua is like the moon. What does this mean? Joshua was the moon. The moon is a reflection of the sun. Joshua was a reflection of Moses. The same thing is with Solomon. Solomon was an extension of David. But King David was busy with the war. Solomon was busy building the temple and establishing the kingdom. That he finished the vision of King David. King David kind of died in the middle of the job. You're right, that's one thing. That's why he could appoint him while he's alive, so to speak. Because it's not a contradiction.
He was still a boy.
But, yeah. We are in 1384, number 31. Go ahead.
Oh,
Okay,
sorry.
no problem.
Bathsheba bowed with her face to the ground and prostrated herself to the king. She said, "May my master, King David, live forever."
Okay, beautiful, right? And they appointed Solomon to be a king. They made a big stink about that. And Adoniah, the party of Adoniah heard the news that on the other side of town, Solomon is being appointed as a king. And King David said, "Sit him on my chair, on my throne, and he's a king." They all disappeared, they ran away. And Adoniah himself was afraid that Solomon is going to kill him, that he went and he all down to the altar. There was a concept that if you all down to the altar of the temple, you will not be taken to be killed. It became an expression in Hebrew, maybe it's an expression in English, is holding on to the corners of the altar. There is such an expression in English. He wants to be to the corners of the altar. There is Mahzik bekarnot hamizbeach. Somebody wants to hold down, like to say that he's righteous. He wants to hold down that nobody should kill. They will not take him to death. It was like almost holding on to the altar was like running to a city of refuge. You understand what I'm saying? It's trying to save you from death. That Adoniah ran to hold on to the altar, and King Solomon says, "Please tell King Solomon he shouldn't kill me." King Solomon said, "Your actions will speak for you. If you behave good, I will not kill you. But if you behave bad, I'll kill you." Told him that straight at the beginning. David died. Solomon became the king. And one day, Bathsheba comes to Solomon. Bathsheba was Solomon's mother. She had a lot of power. There's our story that when Solomon built the temple after 7 years, he inaugurated the temple, he was sleeping late. And the whole nation was waiting to open the temple. And the king is sleeping. And the keys for the temple were under the pillow of the king. And everybody, who is going to wake up the king? Who is crazy to wake up the king? His mother, Bathsheba, came and told him, "You embarrassed me." She gave it to him. She reprimanded him like a mother. You're king, all nice and fine, but shame on you. Then she came, Bathsheba showed up one day, and she told him, Adoniah wants from you only one thing. Give him Avishag to marry. That's how we know that the whole reason why he became king, why he was in a rush to become king, because he wanted to marry Avishag. But Nathan told his mother, maybe I should give him the kingdom too, because to marry Avishag you have to be a king. What do you mean he wants Avishag? He thinks he's a king. But King Solomon ordered to kill him. He was killed.
Sure.
When 4 sons of David were killed, that was, as according to Talmud, a punishment because of the story of Bathsheba, because of Uriah was killed. What should I tell you? The Talmud wants to show, there is, by the way, in last week in the Haftorah we were learning about Avner, right? Joab killed Avner, right? Avner ben Ner. Why was Avner killed? Talmud says something very interesting. I told you before the story that King Saul killed the 85 Cohens. Achimelech the high priest, the whole city. Nov was a city of Cohens. He eradicated them. Terrible thing. Then the Talmud says Avner was his general. And Avner could stand up and said, absolutely not, don't do it. And he didn't stop it. And because he didn't stop it, eventually came around. As somebody told me yesterday, the Talmud wants to show you cannot get away with anything.
This does seem like, as many are saying here, this seems like an awfully great saga, Greek tragedy, Middle Ages, story for the Bible. I mean, couldn't it have been cleaned up a little bit by God here?
What means cleaned up? The story or the reality?
Like a Shakespeare.
Yeah.
The story or the reality?
Well,
What should
the
be cleaned up?
reality, yeah, I guess.
The reality is King David that was life at the time.
Complicated.
Very complicated. And it shows you that no matter the Torah, the Bible shows you that it doesn't cover up anything. That's the best proof that it was written by the Spirit of God. I mean, the rest of the Bible. And you know what, the book of Samuel, I think God was another prophet at that time. But it shows you everything is written. No cover up. Don't try to tell stories about David that didn't happen. And we still say that King David is a righteous man because he did tshuva and he repented to our level and he taught all of us. If King David can do tshuva, everybody can do tshuva.
If King David did tshuva, though, he still suffered. All his sons keep dying on him. It's mostly their fault, too, that they're dying. But
Exactly. Just when you look around, it ended up in a bad way. But everyone was messing up in his own right. The desire to be a king is very strong. Look, people run to presidency. They're ready to do anything and everything. The same thing is here. That's the story of King David and the Haftorah that we learned of Parshat Vayechi. This is King chapter 1. In Haftorah Parshat Vayechi we actually end up to learn last week was King number 2, and then King David died. And then come again Solomon. But next week we learn the Haftorah of the regular Parshat Vayechi.